Morning, everyone. So this has proved hard because of both our schedules, but we've eventually got here. We're in Gory Woods, which I suppose is a trend because I'm starting to see that it's probably my favourite place in the town. We're probably going to walk through the centre of the woods today because for peace and shelter from the elements. But today I'm phenomenally lucky to have someone that I've always classed as a little brother, and someone that I admire massively for everything he's done. But someone I think has a really important story because a lot of people don't realise the pressures that come with being a high level sports person, and also in an amateur sport, in the sense that there's no guarantee of wages as a result of being a top class intercounty hurler. So I'd like to introduce you to someone I class as a very close. I class him more family than a friend, but I'm very lucky to have Conor McDonald on here with me.
Hey Baz, thanks very much for having me. Delighted to, after a few videos that I've seen already and what you're doing, delighted to, even though it's spilling rain and you're taking me up to the back end of Gory Woods. It's probably
He's after threatening me on the phone pre this recording, so if he doesn't come out of the woods, we have an idea
at least I
where he
know
is.
where I am now, and there's traces. But no, thanks very much. Delighted to finally be able to meet up with you and have the chat.
Yeah.
And it's very valuable what you're doing as well around the place, with everyone, different walks of life and the whole lot. So yeah, just delighted to be here. Yeah.
And look, we really briefly talked before we started, but the reason behind this, and I suppose the reason why I set up MBK, is that for us in particular, for men, I suppose, and men in particular ilks, I suppose, as in sport or whatever, people don't realise that the same shit happens to us. So before, I like to start every interview or whatever, I actually don't know what this is anyway, but I like to start all of them with, do you want to let a few people that don't know who Conor McDonald is maybe know a little bit about yourself and where you started out?
Yeah. So I'm from Gory. Lived in Gory all my life, and so sport is just a massive thing that we shared in common. Really wasn't it? From the start, from when I was maybe 6, 7, 8 years of age, going down to a boxing club, playing hurling, football, soccer, anything that was going. I was just involved in it and trying to get involved in it as much as possible. So, hurling was probably my first love always. And I suppose, from a sporting perspective, that's where I really kind of made a decision to try flourish, and eventually I had to pick one. I enjoyed boxing, enjoyed Gaelic football, loved boxing, and all that. That's probably where myself and Niall's connection really was strong. Even on off seasons, stuff like that. That was probably where I kind of tried to reignite the fire at times to try keep in shape and all that. But that's that's probably where a lot of people would know me. Yeah, just we kind of, I suppose, quite enough in relation to family stuff and all that. Don't really talk a whole lot about that, or a lot of people just know me for hurling and the whole lot. But partner now, baby, kind of a lot going on in my life, and busy, yeah, busy, and sure, it's all going good. So yeah, just I suppose sport is probably where I'm known for best. Playing with Wexford now, going into 13 years, my whole adult life really, and the back end of my teenage years.
The back end of your baby life,
yeah,
even,
yeah. So look at sure, that's been obviously a whirlwind in itself and a nearly a different life. So
yeah,
ups and downs and the whole lot that comes with it.
and have you found it at times that like what you just said there, that it is a different life? You have to throw out two different personas, I suppose, as well, don't you, and show
Yeah,
two different sides of yourself.
yeah. Well, sure, at times like you do. I'm probably gotten a lot better now at not really giving a shit what people think.
Yeah.
Probably when I was younger, I probably would have thought you have to be a certain way, you have to be this, that, and the other. Some lads be even, you'd see it now, young lads coming in and how to dress a certain way or not wear these certain boots. And I just, after a while, I kind of realised that really no one actually gives a fuck. Like,
Yeah. that comes with maturing,
It
I
does,
think,
yeah,
in
it does. And
everyone.
sure, probably because I was thrown in the deep end, 17 years of age, probably the youngest ever player to play, in the 1 year in GA, I think it is. And I just knew no different. And you're
Mm,
trying to just learn from the lads that are in front of you. And then after a while, you kind of realize that you have to take a bit of leadership in the dressing room and
yeah,
learn from what you've seen and what is acceptable, not acceptable, and stuff like that. So, um, I just live my life now as it is. As I said, it hasn't always been that way. Just try to live it and enjoy it as much as possible,
yeah,
whether it's sport or off the field or with family or with friends or whatever it is, whether it's going for a few drinks or anything like
yeah,
that. It's something that even with the likes of going out and stuff like that, I probably would have always had one eye over my shoulder to see was there anyone saying you're out or this, that, and the other. And now I just don't really care. I don't
yeah.
care. And it's
Now, to
just
be fair, you're very rarely out anyway.
no,
So,
but yeah, but even still, like I just I'll wake up somewhere else on a Sunday morning after a night out, and the lad that might say something to you previously that would have annoyed me.
mm.
On a Saturday evening, he'll wake up in his bed somewhere and won't be thinking of me, so I don't need to be
Yeah.
thinking of him. You know what I mean,
No, and
or
that's a
whatever.
fact then. But what I will say is, obviously, I suppose, I never had a role, and we're not related, not blood related, but I've always, I think, deep down that I've always had, I'm probably too protective at times.
Yeah,
And I would say that it disappoints me a massive amount how judgmental people can be. But
mm,
I suppose then, like, in Connor was, I suppose to back up a bit, I think what we don't know is that Connor was an All Ireland champion boxer, very good at soccer, reasonable at football. No point in saying any better than that.
like you,
Reasonable,
like
right?
you.
But was gifted. Anything he put his hand to, he was very good at. And then having to decide, that showed a massive maturity, because I wish I'd have probably done it with boxing. I tried to be good at many, but not top class at any, really. Do you
Mm,
know that? Tried to play too much. But you dedicated yourself to hurling at 17. Younger, actually. I
yeah,
think you were
15
by
maybe.
15 maybe, when I remember saying to you were after winning an Irish title the year before. And we had a conversation in the old kitchen of the boxing club in Gorey. It's gone now. And you broke down crying. You said, Basil, I have to give up boxing because I have to completely concentrate on hurling. And at such a young age, that was a hard thing for you to do. But back to where I was a second ago, I find that, and through my own journey with pro boxing, I suppose, but this town is the greatest town in the world, and we are both probably the most proud Gory men you will ever meet in your life.
Mm,
This town is the greatest town in the world to slap you on the back and say how amazing you are to your face,
yeah,
but absolutely dig a hole and bury you behind your back. And like, I remember when I boxed Alan Babbage. Well, I didn't box, I turned up. And I had a really, really bad night for reasons probably outside of my control at the time.
yeah,
But there was very close friends of mine in a pub, and the barman that I used to work with in the Fowler had to come out and say to him, you should be ashamed of yourself for the way you're talking about him.
mm,
I have flipped that onto your side. I've lost my temper on a number of occasions in pubs when I've been there and seen people talking loosely. Like, I could very well be wrong, but I think he'll go down in history as probably one of the greatest sports people in this town.
mm.
But with that, there brings a massive, massive, massive pressure as well. So, how have you dealt with the pressure? Well, look, I know, as you said, not every day has been easy,
Mm.
but how do you deal with it now, I suppose, with maturity?
Well, sure, you kind of touched on it there, like, and it's probably blocking out noise that you don't need in your life.
Yeah,
And again, I wasn't always that way. I probably would have been, as you said, you might be lads might be talking loosely. I remember talking to you that day of the Babbage fight, and we were can only video call. I remember I was going to go. I remember
yeah,
with you to that Babbage fight, and wasn't allowed to go with
COVID,
restrictions and
yeah,
COVID and all that. And I was really excited about it. And then there was only what 3 or 4 allowed to go with you. in your camp or whatever. So I remember video calling you, and it was, it was just, you could see that you needed probably someone there
Mm.
else than just lads that you see that in everyone's camp. You see lads in the Gory team or the Wexford team. They're nearly lads like, you know take your mind off it, like. And
Yeah,
that's
a
that's
distraction, I suppose.
yeah. And again, that's where, like, after hurling games, I normally set friends to go and, ring for go for a drink, or go for a run together, or whatever it is.
Mm.
Your friends do that because they know full well they won't even speak about
You don't want to
hurling, or
talk
they
about
know
her.
and
Yeah.
they know I definitely don't. So, um, it's just everyone is different, and finding what's important to you, really, really important to you. Obviously, the likes of hurling is so important to me, but the other side of it too, are you going to let people or things annoy you that are
Mm.
completely out of your control? Or, because it can affect you if it does, like. And
Mm.
probably, there's been times where you might lose, and you lose more than you win. Like, we're in Wexford, you know we're not a Kerry or a Dublin football or
Yeah.
anything like that, where it's nearly expected to have 3 or 4 All Ireland medals. Like, they don't come around often enough. If they did, everyone would have them. And there's a huge sacrifice, and that's what people don't realize. And that's what I needed to realize, was that nobody knows really what the sacrifice is. And when you're in camp for a huge fight,
Mm.
it still might not be good enough. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And like that, like Conor is a qualified personal trainer, and I was really lucky. Just Ivan Lynch trained me for the majority, and then Matthew the Mar for the finish. But I was really lucky that one of my fights turned out to be my first loss, but
yeah,
through no fault of Conor's, or probably no fault of my own either. My back went. But Conor jumped in and volunteered to help me at that time, and I'll never not appreciate that.
mm,
You know what I mean? It was a massive thing when you were only up with 14 fitness at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So, like, but winning and losing in sport is natural, but it's
Mm.
how do you deal with? I know, well, it's part of my illness as well, but I know that I really struggled with loss. How do you find that?
Yeah, I used to be poor, like really poor with it, like. And it used to affect my everyday life for
Mm.
way longer than it probably does now. Um, I I try to enjoy my wins like as if it's the last win ever, because you
Yeah,
don't know.
it
But
could be.
that can also, and I've noticed that can also really have a negative effect a couple of weeks out. We were in the county final, say, and I was in bother with my back, like, big time, and I knew that, like. And
Mm.
when they come down, of winning the county title, and everyone's back to their normal lives, or, you know that's
And
the
you can't
reality.
put your socks on.
Yeah, all of a sudden, then you get a nice touch of reality now back
Mm.
into what's going on, and you're not able to kind of lift the baby out of the cot or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So you're just learning all the time. And, like, losses, like, you put so much into sport, and so much into everything, that it nearly is an addiction. So, like, when something is taken from you, all you want is to crave it again and crave it again. And for me, I've realized that it's probably exercise. And the reason I actually realized that was because last year, when we were finished up with Gory, it was the first year where, thankfully, in the long sports career that I've had, that I actually couldn't do it.
yeah,
So I couldn't go back to the boxing club. I couldn't go play soccer. I couldn't even do a bit more in the gym than I would have
yeah.
done. And I actually had to take a complete
Break.
winter off. And I remember you saying to me one day, ringing me, and I was up the walls, and it probably wasn't nice to be around, even around the family. And, there'd be days there you might be a little bit better or not. And I would never take tablets. I'd rarely take
Yeah,
painkillers. I'm like, can I try listening to my body as best as possible? But there was a stage where I just had to be on some sort of pain relief for pain running down my leg, and just really, really nasty pain. But I realised then quickly enough that maybe it's not winning and losing. It's actually, what do I love, is being out there, any sport, pushing my body to the limits. Yes, I absolutely would do anything to beat anyone in anything. I literally just said to you on the phone on the way up that you were saying you beat anyone in the town. And I still back myself, even though I know you'll probably hit me a few clouds. But
we're in the woods. I have a shovel hit here as well.
But no, that's just who I am. Whether it's a game of cards or fucking anything, I'll always literally go to the end of the earth to try win it, and
Yeah.
that's. But I've realised that you don't win all the time, and when you strip it back to basics, it's actually what makes you tick, and exercise makes me tick, and that's probably, a lot of the stuff that you're promoting. That's what makes me tick. That's what makes me, I remember.
Feel better.
Yeah, and I remember even Melissa at the time, who probably doesn't understand the real graph or GAA, and at times can see the hardship that you're put through, and you're looking at lads there on a Saturday jumping around the ground there playing soccer and getting 200 grand a week for it. She's wondering then, Jesus, like, you're putting so much time in and then you're hurt. And after a while, when I was injured, she was saying, Conor, you just need to start moving. You need to try to get back training. I was seriously thinking about pulling the plug at Wexford, and just because I didn't see any way out, like, and it was affecting me massively mentally, and you're just in poor form. You're making stupid decisions, and like with your diet, and you're just you can't see a way out, like, really. And that's kind of where I was at, like. And then I just tried to be as proactive as possible after she said that. I was like, Jesus, like, maybe I have kind of got into a bit of a rut here where I just don't see a way out, like, or see a way of playing again. And then I just probably put it into perspective of, can I actually get moving here again? And then sooner rather than later, I was able to do a little bit more. And it's probably, again, it's massive learning for me, because I was never in that position. I was never had an injury before.
And it was a debilitating
injury.
Like,
you
had
absolutely.
back surgery, hadn't you?
Yeah, sure, just and injections after injection, and pain running down my leg, and you can't even describe it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just.
No, it is, and so for what a lot of people, I'm still struggling with it myself. For a lot of people that look at the likes of Conor, and in a lesser degree myself, you associate the sports person with it, and that becomes something that we associate with ourselves nearly. And when you can't do that, you feel lost. Like, I'm still appealing the BUI's decision not to give me a license, but maybe I need to drop that as well. I'm conscious that maybe I'm holding on to something that I need to let go of, but it's been such a major part of our lives. You know what I mean? But what I will say is that Conor has talked there about how good and positive and raw and hard to listen to at times they can be, but Conor's partner Melissa, no more so than my wife Niamh, has played a massive part. And like you said there, pulled your head out of your hole, really, for want of a better word.
Yeah, or huge. Like, the thing about GAA as well is, and it's probably getting a little bit better, but throughout my career you've seen massive changes of, like, you win, you could be on the beer for 3 days. You lose, you could be on the beer for 3 days. But the one thing that's constant, win or lose, it seems to be just everyone goes and lose their mind. And that's simply because the likes of alcohol and the culture of alcohol or anything else like that is just massive, it's really bad. Like, because there's the GA culture is where you're off the beer and you're off this, and it's not all about drinking or anything like that, but there is serious negative effects with it. Like, and I think that's probably one thing I've learned as well is, everyone is so different, and everyone deals with if your performance is not being affected, then what's wrong with having a glass of wine with your dinner with your missus there when you're 3 weeks out from a game or whatever it is, so, like, and again, that makes them feel good. Like, do you know what I mean? You were able to go out and she wants to get a bottle of wine between the two of you. Is like, what's, realistically, if you put in a good bank of work, I know I heard Dan Carter always say, earn your beers. So if you've put 80% of your work in for the week, you have that 20% before you.
There was a thing years ago, I remember. I don't know if I don't think the science behind this was fully true, but if, like, I could have done 8 weeks of a boxing camp, and they'd say 1 hour of drinking would ruin the 8 weeks of training camp, and you're just there thinking, this can't be right. But that was just the mentality that was driven into, where it probably led us to drinking maybe in excess when we got the opportunity to drink as well, which is if you constantly were minding it, not going above what you should have, and maintaining your levels of fitness without any issue.
Yeah, sure. It's like as if you're so disciplined in your sport that everything else you feel it doesn't even have to be drink, but if you're trying to make weight in boxing, or you're trying to stay lean for And you know, like lads will be saying, oh, I'm cutting weight here, or I'm trying to lose a bit of body fat for
Yeah,
championships, or whatever it is, and you 4 or 5 weeks, and then you go get a pizza. Like that's not going to put you back to where you
yeah,
started. Do you know what I mean? But like that's where the culture of maybe GA and all that is changing a little bit. But it definitely was the case that like you go now and you get a big Chinese once a month,
mm.
say for talk's sake, it's not the end of the world. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You don't have
But
to
it's like
punish
as if
yourself.
it's this big massive ill
Yeah.
discipline thing that you're like, all right, we're fucked now. Like, do you know what I mean? And
Well, what I would say to you, or from knowing you from a baby, is that you're probably one of the most disciplined people I know. And I know with that we all have faults and we've all made boo boos, but like the effort you've given to hurling and football and soccer and boxing and everything that you ever do, you go when you're
mm,
in 100%, like you know that way.
yeah, that's
So
probably my downfall because
probably is, and it probably makes things hard, and then it makes these loose-lipped individuals talk when they see you because they're not
mm,
seeing you usually. So if they do see you, then it's easy to target that thing, like you
yeah,
know what I mean. But the other thing I would say is that what people wouldn't maybe know about Conor is Conor, like you said, born and reared in Gorey, has probably. I'm biased here. I call her Mammy Mac, so I have to mention. But his mother Mary is one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. A phenomenal person. He has a
mm,
beautiful sister Cara who has a new baby and a great partner as well. So you're lucky your family is strong too. But with that, like there's been journeys that your family have went through and have had to, like you had an incident 3 4 years ago
yeah,
that wasn't ideal. We don't need to talk into it or about it. There was a lot of learning took from it though. You saw
yeah.
who your real friends were, I suppose, and
Mm. I yeah, sure. Like it was like family, parents split up when I was in probably was a fifth year in school.
mm,
I didn't probably I'd say it's the second time I probably ever even spoke about it really.
yeah.
And that's where I probably I don't know, like I always kind of felt like I'd help out the family and
You
it
took on
kind
the
of
father
yeah
role a
maybe
lot,
yeah
yeah.
yeah and like especially for my sister and for my mom and stuff like that and like I probably just acted the way my mom would have always acted with me.
Yeah,
Do you know if there was ever anything whether it was school or anything like that? So you know you're just learning from how my mom might be in a certain situation now. So how do I react? Would she
yeah,
react the way she would react if you were in a bad situation? And sure, again, as you said there's stuff goes on there the last few years, but sure, it's made me, you know, the amount of positive stuff that's happened from
yeah,
a huge thing, and you know, your shame that you feel, and you know, public lambasting going
yeah.
on, especially in
Well
the middle of
then,
COVID as well. It was really difficult. Like it was really difficult. You know, you're struggling to. There's no training going on. There's no nothing going on, and
no, and those loose-lipped individuals need more time to kill.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you're,
absolutely. But sure, even I remember there was one day, maybe 4 days after, there was loads going on. Phone has happened, what's happened, this, that, and the other, and next thing, knock on the door, the Star newspaper. Like, and
yeah.
you'd swear it was a lad from fucking One Direction or somewhere. You know what I
I,
mean?
I'd love
Pictures
to
at the
say,
front door, but
we haven't got that in common, but we do. And that tabloid, not, I'm not naming what tabloid newspaper. I'm not naming the reporter, but you're a bad human. But they write stories to sell newspaper, and it's
mm,
something that's really hard. I remember them associating me with a massive crime gang, and could have got me in massive trouble in work.
yeah, yeah.
Could have got me shot more to the point I was
Mm.
afraid of. So, like, newspapers really don't care about you,
No,
and
they
I
don't
think
care, and they absolutely don't understand the consequences for the person that they're writing about. Do you
are
know
the
what I mean?
families of the
That's what I
people that
mean.
they're
Like,
writing about.
and what actually, how much it can actually affect. And like, there was times there where I just would have thought, once this is all and over and done with, like, I'd love to just be able to just
Immigrant,
somehow show, how, like, how the hurt that it can cause. Like, and
God,
especially that was over lockdown. You know, it was difficult. Like, and then anytime you actually do see someone. you know, you don't see people.
Mm,
You see people way more often now, like.
yeah.
And then every time you're like, Jesus, like they're definitely, you know,
Looking
thinking
at
this or
me or
looking at that. And
talking,
it
yeah.
was like that for a while, but
No,
you know, or at a bus stop or something can spill in rain there in
yeah.
the middle of Dublin, and you know you're praying out for just the day that you're back to the normal life, and thankfully, like, you know, working in Dublin and stuff like that gets you away from it. But obviously, getting up and down from Dublin with a baby and transport being an issue and stuff like
Yeah,
that, like when I look at it now, it like built me massively, like
yeah.
to being able to talk about it, being able to, you know, I suppose be positive about it now. But boy, Jesus, it did. Like there's days there where you miss a bus by a hair just because it's so much stuff is out of your control. And
Yeah, and I'm changing a nappy or
yeah,
you know,
so it's just
it's no, it isn't. It's the crazy thing about it, but it's the unforgiving nature of high level sports as well. But a lovely saying, today's newspaper is tomorrow's chip paper. Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? But it's when you're in that,
No, you feel like you're
it
you feel like you're going to the chipper the next day to read
yeah,
it.
and it's something that you think you're never going to get away from. Like, but like what I will say is there's massive learnings, and from me, obviously I love you to bits, but from my point of view, you've come out of it amazingly well. Do you know what I mean? And owned your mistake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is a very mature thing to do, like as well. So,
Mm.
but moving on, and I always like to think that, like, so probably the main reason behind MBK is to help. Obviously, the main reason is to help people, but and the main reason behind the Up and At It with Basil is that genuinely these are so unrehearsed. These conversations go where they go. It's not planned or anything like that. But I do know, and I do firmly believe that our stories can help people. Like, so there's people today struggling with lots of things. And I remember when I launched Headspace Corey, you done an unbelievable hour workshop. So I missed a lot of them, but I was there for your one, and you talked about social media, right? So I'm big on this. I'm big on social media being a false world. And you know I probably took a massive amount of that from you, from what you said in that workshop. So
Yeah,
if you had, so not that we're finished, we're going to walk on in here,
yeah.
but if you had advice for people, what would you say around social media and stuff like that?
Well, sure. You can look at it both ways. Well, you're definitely over it. You're probably 20 years older than me, eh? Or maybe.
Friendship is hanging by a balance here now.
No, but you can look at it two ways. Like and like you're probably out of it and coming back into it, so you can see where you can see the positives and negatives.
Yeah,
I was probably only finishing school when the likes of a Snapchat or something like that,
yeah,
Instagram
took
was only
off.
getting going. Like, so you're probably at the start of it, but it's only going to get worse and it's only going to get better.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I like I have a daughter now, and I just actually fear what it'll be like
yeah,
in
I'm the same.
10 or 12 years time, and you're like thinking, Jesus, like it's dangerous. But I suppose like probably 90%, and even I do stuff with brands and stuff like that, and there's been times where I've had to say, look, lads, I just don't agree with this. I might like the brand, I might like who we're working with, and they're trying to depict me in a different way. So I'd always try to do stuff that's like now, say, just off the cuff, and not off the cuff, but like, you know, that if I used to put up 3 other photos, you know, of say Jude or a match or whatever the fuck, it means that they're not complete polar opposites, and they're not an ad, or they're not, you know what I mean? Because then
Now, if you're to look at any pictures of Jude on Melissa O'Connor's page, oh my God, she's the most beautiful little girl anyhow. So she's dressed up, she's like a little film star already. So there's no rehearsing goes into that. There doesn't need to be. She's just beautiful.
sure, or me either,
Uh,
or me.
back to that.
I know, but like obviously, you know, girls in particular as well. It's huge. It's a massive platform for girls to be, you know, trying to. I say they're trying to promote themselves, but there's an awful lot of, you know, falseness to it, and it's really dangerous for lads and
Body
girls. Like you,
shaming, yeah.
body shaming. You look at lads there and they're going around and they look absolutely ripped to death, like, and you're Like
No.
I would think it's jeez, this lad's some Nick or
I know
what's
I
it
do.
what
I consciously stop posting pictures for that reason.
no, but that is it. Like, and you're like the sooner, and it's easier said than done, especially for our age. But
Yeah.
like for younger 15, 16-year-olds now, like
No, this is
you have to
horrendous.
realize like that you can do anything now. You can literally do anything. You can put your face on something that is completely opposite to where you're at. Like, and there's no certain body shape that has to be what it is. There's
Yeah.
no number one, or there's no idealistic body shape, and everyone is different. You're 6'3" or 4", I'm 6'1", completely different body shapes, completely different strengths, and that's the same for women as well. And yeah, grand, you want, like, obviously everyone's going to, or majority of people want to be up and fit and hitting the gym or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but the mental toll that I can take by looking at other people all the time and
Yeah.
comparing yourself all the time, like, I always think of it, if you open your phone and you have your selfie camera just by mistake, if you're happy with what you see, then nothing you see on the other side of the lens is going to make a difference.
Yeah.
It shouldn't make a difference.
That's a beautiful
Do you know
thing.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, really shouldn't. And you can admire other people and the whole
Mm.
lot, and see what other people are doing, but the majority of stuff, and as I said, like, I might do stuff with brands, but there's no way, you know, it takes a lot of work to do stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Whereas
No, and like down to coming in here and you putting on the blusher and all because you've a bit of a black eye, but
give you one now and
but no, there is like boy, I think you've touched on it there. It probably is for younger people. It's probably getting worse.
yeah,
But I would hope, like Jude is going to grow up and have a mum and dad that have learnt from this as well, like,
yeah,
and seeing the good and the bad in it. So that'll help. Like MJ, God love him, he's 7 and he'll probably be 25 before he has a phone. You know what I mean? So, but I'm seeing it in work. I see it in work every day, the dangers of social media.
yeah,
I see how when, like, I know I'm a lot older than you, but when I went home and if I was getting bullied and I went to the room, at least I was safe. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
that could be the worst place in the world for a child now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like on that as well, like, you're exposed to everything now on a phone.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Stuff that I like, even the likes of, I remember being in school, like, and you might say stuff, or other lads, you might say stuff that would, if it was to be said
Mm.
now, you just, you know what I mean? It just, you'd be absolutely shunned, like,
Yeah.
and
And
that was
then,
just through lack of knowledge, and you weren't exposed to this kind of stuff.
yeah,
Like, you know, mental health probably wasn't really a thing, and
no, wasn't spoken
it
about.
wasn't spoken about. Of course, it was a thing, but it wasn't. It certainly wasn't spoken
No.
about. And
But
you know,
I always say about that, like I remember working in the pub and people very clearly unwell with their mental health.
yeah,
Like, but people used to say, "Oh, Jesus, God love Basil there. He suffers with his nerves." Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? No, the man is unwell. Like, he
yeah, yeah,
needs help, but it was just brushed over. Like, it was
yeah.
massively. Like,
Yeah, no, it is, and you can be exposed to the good, the bad, but generally it's the ugly that
yeah,
everyone attracts to all the
yeah,
time, and it's just important to try really, as I said, you're looking in your phone, you're checking in on yourself before you start looking in on any other apps.
yeah.
And
No, that's the lovely thing, just to have a check in with yourself.
exactly,
And
and
then, like, my big thing with kids in school is that once you press send, you've lost control. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
so what you believe you're sending to one individual, once you press send, you don't know where that's going to
Yeah,
end up.
but so you look at it now on any of them apps, and I only noticed it recently, just dawned on me, the first button that's there is either a voice note or a forward.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
not what they're trying to achieve, obviously, but it's the
yeah,
easiest thing to do.
yeah.
It's a
No,
voice
it
note,
is.
camera, or forward. And that's how easy it is to just to send stuff on. No, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
Even down to something you might see online that could be racist about someone else.
mm,
If you're down to be seen to be sending something like that, that's where it originated. That's where
yeah,
you're in trouble, and it might not be, you might not even agree with that or
yeah,
anything like that. But that's where, just again, everything is accessible, and it's just,
yeah. No, it's
can be
scary.
dangerous. Like, it is dangerous, but there is a lot of positives as well. There's a lot of people doing really, really good things in it, and like, as I said, probably what I'd say 85-90% of stuff is probably false. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it is like, and
Sure, I'd say I got off the video call with you, the Sunday, the Babbage fight. I think I done 3 video calls. I would have video called My sister, I think, I did video call my sister because my nephew had been assaulted the night before, actually. So I video called my sister, you video called in the middle, and I talked to Neve last, right? And honestly, I put a picture up when I was leaving the room. I left my phone in the room, obviously, and I put a picture up as I was going down to the arena saying, "Oh, can't wait, never felt better in my life." And literally, I was probably at my lowest point
Yeah, I remember
in
that,
a
and it was
long
like,
time.
Jesus, was he lying to me or is he lying to
Yeah.
the world? But again, like, sure, you're looking at that, and you probably want people to, people are going to be looking at it.
Mm.
And in boxing in particular, I always see like lads literally are nearly videoing themselves going out, walking out to the fucking ring
Yeah.
nowadays. Like, do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And that's obviously, and the best of boxers now, it seems, are able to do that and then just
Yeah.
be zoned out completely. Whereas
And there's the talent in that.
that's what I'm saying. And like, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like,
Yeah. And I couldn't. I
no,
definitely couldn't.
because that's because you probably you care. You are bringing the whole of your fans with you to the ring. Like, do you know what I mean? That's what I found that day. I remember talking to you about it, saying, this is just you now, like, do you know what I mean? You've done the work, whatever it is. And boxing's really, like, I learned an awful lot from boxing. Like, you've either done it or you haven't, and if you
Yeah, yeah.
haven't, you're going to get bet. Simple as that.
No, and if the work isn't put in, like I had young Kelly Byrne on this one of the first episodes, and like her transformation was phenomenal. Like to lose 12 kilos, to go from winning very little to winning all around her. Do you know what I mean? But purely, she puts it down to hard work.
Yeah.
Like, do you know that way?
But it's hard work though, but it's not all physical either. Like, do you know what I mean? There's quite a lot of mental
Massively, yeah.
toughness
And
there.
as a friend, I can honestly say this: I would have achieved far more if I was mentally stronger, and I'm very aware of that. Do you know that
That's
way?
what I was saying. That day, I felt like, Jesus, you're taking on. At that time it was like maybe only a few like pubs and bars were open. That time, remember, it was COVID kind of
Yeah.
times or whatever. And I remember like lads were going, and you were aware of this, and remember saying to you, like, Basil, white noise now, like, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, let everyone else do whatever, because they're going to either meet you or not meet you when you're home.
Yeah.
Or they'll cut the back off you, or
Yeah.
they'll let on the best ever. And
cut the back off
yeah,
me,
but sure.
they
And
did,
come
but
here, that's the way, and that's, as you said, that's comes with the territory of being in
oh,
the public eye.
and when we put ourselves in the public eye, that we're there to be judged, I
Yeah.
suppose, is the other side. What I do firmly believe though is that something that we all, and you and me both, can do with always reminding ourselves is that kindness is something that's slipping away. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very conscious that I read a beautiful book called The Four Agreements. Do you ever read it?
No.
Amazing. It's only 165 pages, so it's not too bad either.
Bigger text for you.
Bigger text, but there's no pictures, so it was harder for me. But one of the four agreements is that you don't take anything personally, right? And in theory, that is the easiest thing in the world to do. But honestly, in practice, it's the hardest thing, because it does affect us. Do you know what I mean? And you, from a no, actually, I'm going to say it's not a God-given talent, because a God-given talent is something that you haven't molded. You have worked your bollocks off to be where you are. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think people realize that, how hard you do work. Like, how I remember through that time, like I said, I'm a good bit older, and I'm 6'4", I'm 106 kilos, but like, we would just tip off and go for a 10k run. Like, do you know what I mean? I would love to be able to do that now, but two knees wouldn't do 10k's now. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think we take that for granted, but people also take how hard you work for granted.
Yeah, well, sure. But that's always going to be the way for any intercounty player, I think. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one that puts on a extra jersey, just from, like, obviously lads I see all the time. There's no one that puts on an extra jersey, and even there's no one probably that puts on a goalie jersey now, the way it's gone.
Yeah, no,
without putting in effort, and that's just the way sport
down
is gone.
But down to your management team, right? So I know you turn up, you manage the team, but I've seen firsthand how much work James Kirk puts into planning every session that you do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a professional element to amateur sport, even at club level. They
Global,
might
yeah,
say,
no,
you
and
know.
everything, and then it's the culture you create. Like, sure, as I've often said it, like your best friends are in the club dressing room, like, and that at times can be difficult because you're so emotionally charged.
Yeah,
You know, you'll be getting into a county semi final, and you're I don't know, you're taking stuff personal because you want to get
yeah,
try get the edge or try get the extra 10%, and then afterwards, like, did you really take it personal? Because back in the day, I probably would have.
yeah,
And then say we took, you take something personal, a real big rivalry with a team, and then after the match, if you lose, you're like, and you're gone.
yeah.
Whereas I would be hugely emotionally charged before a game or whatever it is, club in particular, and like, just because of, like, you care about so many of the lads that are in the dressing
Mm,
room, and you're obviously, maybe captain of the team and stuff like that. There is a little bit more responsibility, so you're trying to get everyone going, but like nowadays, I wouldn't say it's fake or by any stretch of the means. Like, you go to the end of the earth, and if that's how you feel, but at the same time, you have to realize that it is just sport. Like, do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. No,
And
no,
that is the
agreed.
hardest thing in the world
Yeah,
to realize. But when like when you're the following day and you're broke up and you're sore and tired, and you either won or you've lost, like, you're going to
mm,
feel the same
yeah,
physically, because you're going to expose your body to anything really, like. But like, yeah, it's the most difficult thing any athlete or any sports person in general, whether you're playing Division 4A soccer or whatever
mm.
it is, you either win or you lose. Win,
And
lose
that,
or draw, but at the end of the day, you're still going to feel the same the following day
yeah,
physically. It's just how do you recover from a loss? How do you recover from a win, even? Because I was saying to you earlier, we won in Leinster final in 19, and even when we won in 2018, our first county title, the whole town were going mad
mm,
for maybe 2 weeks. There was a serious buzz,
yeah, I'm really,
and like we really underperformed in Leinster. Like, like, we barely got over the line against the league champions, and probably were 10 points better than them. Really,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And like, why was that? Sure, we were still on an absolute high, and then we came down to go training.
flatlines.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But you're coming down to do what gets you up generally.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So we were up here, then we came down to go training from this massive high. Whereas if you try make your highs absolutely high, but like, you know that
mm,
a lower or a lull is coming. Like, you can't keep that high forever. Like, and
no,
that's why lads probably chase. You win. Everyone used to always say, "You win one, I'm done." Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Win one Leinster title, or win one All Ireland, or win one county title. That's me done, finished. More often than not, them lads that are saying that are there the following year, the first
yeah.
lads to
No, it's
training.
addictive. Like
It is
winning
a
is addictive, and
yeah.
I like obviously when I was setting up MBK, I done a lot of courses and done different things to get qualifications or
Mm,
whatever. But I done one an addictive studies course one day, and like for top level sports people coming out of sports,
mm,
it's a really dangerous time
mm,
because we have to try and replace that.
yeah.
And sometimes the only high you can get to match the highs that you got used to is through drink, through drugs, through other
Mm,
addictions. You know what I mean? So it's a very dangerous time. And my myself, I'm still navigating it. I'm very lucky. Neve is amazing, so she doesn't. Obviously, drugs is never something that interested me, but drink, I would have ran to out of habit as opposed to anything.
mm,
And she would make sure that I don't allow that to take control. But it is something that I was actually talking to your mother recently, and we plan on doing workshops for mental health and financial well-being, in the sense that because you're looking for that high, so
mm.
gambling can be a false
Yeah,
high
yeah.
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there's lots of things that people don't explain to you when you're chasing that high dream or that goal as a sports person.
Mm,
That when it's all over and the rug is pulled, and look at me, 40 years of age and
mm.
still appealing a bit boxing union of Ireland
I know.
decision.
It is different, and that's what I was going to say. Like, it's the high rather than, and like, I've thankfully been lucky enough to win a good bit of
Mm.
stuff, whether it's club or under 21 or whatever it is, or Leinster Championship. But like, it's the actual feeling rather than the medal.
Yeah, oh no,
Do you know
come
what I
here.
mean? And
And
that's
now,
where,
biggest regret in my life, the only, well, I've said this on this already, but the biggest regret in my life was ever leaving Gory. I was very lucky. I won a county title with St. Pat's in Wicklow, and I transferred there as a guard. And an amazing thing, an amazing achievement. We got to a Leinster semi-final. We got hockey by Portlaoise, but they I think went on to
They
win the
won it,
All
I think,
Ireland
yeah.
that year. Amazing, but genuinely, I don't think I own that medal anymore. Or if I do, I couldn't even tell you where it is. I'm even down to belts. So I won 4 belts as a pro boxer, right? I lost one in America. Like a belt is a bit bigger than a medal, like, and I
Yeah.
still lost one. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's
No, it
not
is.
that
It's
high. Like
yeah,
it's
and like even I know we were probably talking about sport an awful lot. Like,
yeah,
but even people in business are getting a big sale. You're
yeah,
not going to get a big sale every week. Do you know what I
fact,
mean? And
fact.
if you can always try to be somewhere from your highest highs and your lowest lows. If you can not have your highs too high and your lows too low,
Yeah,
and you're somewhere there, then nothing's a surprise to you. Do you know what I
no,
mean?
yeah, it's
Nothing's a
brilliant.
surprise, or nothing's anything. Do you know? As I said to you there, the big come down, like, you're
Mm.
coming from the high, and come here, we're going back to, as I said from the start, physical exercise is what actually gets me going,
Get you
ticking,
there,
and
yeah.
gets me moving. So I was coming back. That's why I felt like coming back down to do what gets me up,
Well, yeah,
and then yet you're still feeling low because you had, you're building this thing up to be this,
yeah.
that, and the other, and everything that's going on and the excitement, but it's actually the feeling.
Yeah,
Do you know
you're
what I mean? But sure, you can generate that feeling every day
yourself,
if you
yeah.
you can you
And
can
and
generate that
that
feeling.
MBK in the workshops, that's what I tried to show that true movement and not like my little lad this morning's in awful form because he fucking played that what's the switch? He was playing the switch and he got in a bad humour, he lost the match. He's emotional, I don't know where he got that from. But he's like a dog, so I said to him, "Come on with me for a walk in the woods," and he wouldn't today. But I made him go out and play football, and his humour changes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you know what I mean? There's natural ways of
Mm.
fixing ourselves. I do a yoke on this as well, when I remember, which
Right.
is rarely. So, but I always like to. So my thing, and I love you, like I said, I love you like a brother. But I, this is for somebody that's watching this, maybe struggling in business,
Mm.
maybe struggling and can't get picked on the junior B hurling team, maybe struggling can't get picked in a school team,
Mm.
or is too afraid to go for a school team because of the anxiety attached to it, right? So, what advice would you give to as a positive role model? Archie, have you had any role models that took you under your wing in your Wexford journey that you said, you know what, if I could do something, I'd try and achieve that or follow that circle? No?
No, but the big thing, well, there's been so many over the years, and even sure say Keith rosters over us now. But you're always picking stuff from other
Yeah.
people, and I can't actually remember who had mentioned this, but there was one thing was the positive circle. And I think I spoke about that maybe in one of your workshops as well. And it's probably stuck with me for the last 5 or 6 years. That if you do something that's going to impact you in a positive manner, like, the
Mm.
chances are, if you do one thing, the next thing. So I always think if you are in bed early, you're up early, you're going to either do a workout or get your breakfast, and you're eating a breakfast that's going to help what you do next, whether that's a workout or going into work and you're feeling better and you have a more productive day. The chances are you're going to want to feel like that again. So you're
Mm.
in a positive circle. It can take one thing to break it, but it can also take one more thing after that
To keep
to
it
get
going.
back in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'd be saying. Like, generally, if you start your day off in a positive manner, everyone has shit days. Like, there's been days
Yeah.
where I remember playing Glenbarrentown 2 years ago, and well, a year and a half ago, and Jude was maybe 6 months old, let's say, and I get up out of bed and all hours of the morning, she's whatever 6 months, and Melissa come in, she goes, "Hey, we're that tired." Like, she said, "Hey, do you have a match today? Like, or what's going on?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a match there now at 3 o'clock. I was going leaving at 1 to go down to Belfield." And I remember then, so she just, as I was going out the door, she just goes, "Connor, I have no idea how you want to play this game." Like, but again, started off on maybe a negative, whereby you're serious lack of sleep, you're
Mm.
tired, you're completely out of your control. What do you like? Do you just not have a breakfast then, or do you go get a breakfast that's going to give you some sort of
Nourish,
energy?
yeah.
And going down, then you're with the lads. you know, you're getting a bit of energy off them the whole lot. Next thing for me that day was get a good warm up in, make sure, you know, loose and limber. I actually end up hurling right well.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
great.
mean? And
Then
you
went home in great form then.
went home in great form. Melissa's probably, you know, bollocks tired.
Yeah.
Do you know, because
You were able
she's,
to
and I
take
was
over
able to
then.
take over for a little while. She's able to go in, then you're feeling good because you're able to let her
Yeah.
go to bed a bit earlier.
I had an amazing teacher in school, Granny Mulcahy. We'll probably have on this as well.
Saturday me.
The most beautiful woman I've ever met in my life, as in the sense of just she gives me this unbelievable feeling when I'm around her. She's just really good, right? Just a little bit like Katie Taylor, like an angel on earth, I feel, right? But Miss Mulcahy, she has me saying that. She taught me this joke about the cognitive behavioural triangle, right? I sound smart now, but I'm not, right? So, and it is what you've just said, right? So your thoughts lead into your feelings, then your feelings lead into your behaviour, and your behaviour leads into your thoughts. So really quickly, we're going to finish up. Con, what advice would you give to any young person watching this?
One thing I always say is to, and probably even more so the last 4 or 5 years, and it's really been a thing. And I remember my grandmother Mel used to always say it. My mother, anytime I say it to her, she just tears up. In particular, in the last few years, because there's been probably so much gone on, good and bad, and you know, and a lot of learnings. Is to don't sweat the small stuff because it's all small stuff.
Totally.
So
That's a lovely thing, right? So that
yeah,
might be the heading for this. Don't sweat.
don't sweat the small stuff. It's all
Because it's
small
all
stuff.
small stuff. Right, brother? I
All right.
love you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.